All right, so Mandalorian Chapter 5 was not very good. I didn't hate it, but it was my least favorite episode of this series, and I was wondering if they were going to lose momentum. Well, Mandalorian Chapter 6, brother. Wow. All right. Talk about a flip-flop. Mandalorian Chapter 6 is not only my favorite episode of Mandalorian so far, I'm telling you right now, it's going to take a lot to beat it. It will take a lot to beat this episode. This episode of Mandalorian, Chapter 6, The Prisoner, had pretty much everything I love, not just about Star Wars, but about movies. So you had a little bit of heist stuff in this movie. You had like the return to the underworld. You had like a mafia type thing going on here, which I love those kind of movies. You know, you had the Mexican standoff, lots of very Quentin Tarantino-esque, movie concepts or movie things he's incorporated into movies. This episode of Mandalorian felt like the cantina scene expounded out. It felt like what I've always wanted, which is, like Tales of the Mos Eisley Cantina. Like, it felt like that kind of underworld, kind of grimy feel, but more so than the other episodes. And not only did it have like a heist kind of thing, but it had like, when you have a group of people on a mission. I guess that is a heist, right? Okay, whatever. Like movies like Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 or Predator, when you have like a group of guys going in on a mission and you don't know who's going to survive, and that's kind of part of the game. You have the kills, that type of stuff. That is how this episode felt. And just, dude, 11 or 12 minutes into this episode, right? By the way, let me just say, this is the longest episode of Mandalorian also. It was 43 minutes long. It was like a mini movie, or a two-part episode. So be aware of that not every episode has a certain time, but this was a big double episode, and that might be why it was the best, but I don't think that's going to be the reason. I hope people don't like just say that. I don't, and say, oh, well, it was twice as long, so it's the best one. No, it actually had better quality. So, but no, what I was saying was, movies like Predator, who's going to survive? Like, I love that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's, the first 11 minutes were so funny. I mean, they were making fun of stormtroopers, how they have, they have bad sight, bad aim. They mentioned Canto Bight and the casinos, to remind us of that, abortion that was The Last Jedi. They made fun of Gungans, and this was just in the first 11 minutes. See, the thing I like about the way this was executed is that it wasn't like they were trying to fuck with our nostalgia. Like, it wasn't like they were trying to purposely push the connective tissue in the universe, but the way they did it here, where it makes sense to have Twi'leks and, these kinds of expanded universe. Well, not really EU, they are canon, but you know what I mean? Like prequel era races we haven't seen in a long time, all over this stuff. Incorporating more of the alien side of Star Wars, I feel like it works. I feel like in this case, it felt so much like A New Hope, like the first half of this did. And then by the end, I mean, there was that awesome, that sequence with freaking Mando, and they had the Mexican standoff, again, another Tarantino. That was incredible. All of the interior shots, I think, looked great in this episode. And by the way, I should mention, this episode was directed by Rick Famuyiwa, who is the guy who directed The Wood, Brown Sugar, Dope, a bunch of other films. This is his first time doing Star Wars, like a lot of other, directors. And I think he did a great job. Christopher Yost wrote the story, but he also helped write it, so they wrote it together. So I want to give him credit, because he understands not only Star Wars, but mafia movies. He's a really good director for timing. I am super impressed by the directing here, the shots. Again, not everyone's gonna agree. You might not like this kind of style of filmmaking, but I really loved it for this episode, and it felt more alive. It felt more active. I don't want to get too film nerdy here, but you know what I mean. That's how it was set up by this guy. But no, I mean, just the absolute badassery of the Mandalorian juxtapositioned with the cuteness of Baby Yoda, who's still around. It was great. Just everything about this episode, bro, And then at the end, I love how they had that sort of like double, twist slash subversion of expectations when you think, these guys thought they fucked Mando, but in fact he fucked them. Like he screwed them over. Like that was so great. It was so great. And I love how they put over the Mandalorians here a lot. They put over like, and then they have jokes like, then why did they all get killed or whatever. They talked about how the most dangerous assassins. We saw more bounty hunters in this episode. I mean, this was fun. This felt so good to watch. It felt so fun. So to me, dude, this is the best Mandalorian episode yet, and it'll be a hard one to top. So let me know what you think down below. I loved it so much, but let me know what you think again, and I'll see you in the comments.